The biggest new hope for a blockbuster drug to cure Alzheimer's has been mired in controversy ever since it went to market. Critics say it's a sign of declining standards and conflicts of interest at the FDA. And now the federal government is set to decide on whether to buy the controversial medicine for Medicare patients. Today, an update on a drug that entered the market in one of the most controversial processes ever.
Where are we going to go? Do you remember? Oh, darn it.
9 months ago, new hope was offered in the form of the first drug that claims to impact the root cause of the dreaded form of dementia known as Alzheimer's disease.
Starts with a D.
Dianthus.
Yep, very good.
Aducanumab, sold as Aduhelm, is given as an injection every 4 weeks. But there's a long shadow that's loomed over the medicine ever since the FDA gave it the green light. They approved it even though not one of the advisors they had consulted said it should be approved.
They did.
Dr. Caleb Alexander was one of the FDA advisors who voted against aducanumab's approval. He's an epidemiologist, internist, and professor at the Johns Hopkins Bloomberg School of Public Health.
The advisory committee, there was near consensus among the advisory panel that there just wasn't the evidence to warrant approval.
Did they really want advice from the advisors?
Well, it's a fair question, and in fact, 3 advisory committee members of the 10 or 11 or however many were on the committee, 3 resigned in protest of the FDA's decision.
Much of the controversy centers on the FDA's overt advocacy of a medicine that had failed miserably during the test phase. Drug maker Biogen stopped its 2 major studies midstream, determining that aducanumab performed so poorly it was futile to go on. But within months, Biogen returned to the FDA, claiming to have found some evidence of benefit within the stopped studies, and the FDA enthusiastically endorsed the drug without a single of the completed large studies normally required.
But I do think that this is really an exceptional setting, not only because of the incredible unmet demand for treatments, but because in this instance, the FDA's decision-making appears to have been at such odds with not just the recommendation of the advisory committee members, but also the recommendations of many other parties.
One of the most disputed entries to market of any drug has been followed by a tumultuous 9 months on sale. What's happened in the time since this drug went to market?
There's been a remarkable concern expressed by many different groups since the product has been approved. There are investigations underway in the U.S. Senate, the House of Representatives, the Office of the Inspector General. The FDA itself has launched an investigation.
There are also questions over promotion of the medicine.
The accelerated approval represents a turning point in the treatment of Alzheimer's.
The Alzheimer's Association, consulted for advice by millions of patients and family members, plugs Aduhelm on its website.
The FDA thought, boy, Alzheimer's is such a bad disease. I think they really listened.
The doctor featured in a promotional video on the site is a paid consultant and speaker for Biogen who worked on one of the clinical studies.
This is the first breakthrough, and I hope of many to come.
And the Alzheimer's Association has received about $2.8 million from Biogen and its Japanese partner in recent years. The Alzheimer's Association told us the money from Biogen is only a fractional percentage of the group's total revenue, and that contributions have no impact on decision-making, which is based on science. Complicating the equation, says Alexander, is not just whether Aduhelm works, but questions about whether it could be dangerous.
There's an anecdotal report of someone who died after experiencing brain edema, which is a not uncommon side effect of the drug.
At least 4 deaths among Aduhelm patients have recently been reported, including that of a 75-year-old Canadian woman. Biogen told us it hasn't been able to establish her cause of death and that the 3 other fatalities have not been attributed to treatment with Aduhelm. Last November, the American Academy of Neurology issued a blunt statement saying Aduhelm is a high-cost drug that was approved by the FDA without convincing evidence of benefits and with known harms, including risks of cerebral edema, swelling, hemorrhage, bleeding, and hospitalization. The doctors group went on to criticize the FDA, saying that its recent decisions indicate a lowering of the standards of scientific evidence used for drug approvals, which will require clinicians to scrutinize approved medications more carefully. The following month, the British Medical Journal reported that more than 40% of patients in a high-dose study of aducanumab suffered brain swelling or bleeding. Within weeks, the European Medicines Agency voted not to approve aducanumab. Adding to the concerns, cost is keeping Aduhelm from being widely prescribed. It entered the market as one of the most expensive drugs in existence at $56,000 a year. In January, Biogen cut the price in half to $28,200. And now the drug's biggest potential customer, Medicare, could make or break Aduhelm's ultimate viability. The federal government is proposing to buy Aduhelm only for the relative few Alzheimer's patients who enroll in a federally approved Aduhelm study in a hospital-based outpatient setting. Biogen declined our interview request, but stands by what their representative said at last year's FDA advisory meeting.
Given the totality of the evidence, we can conclude that the benefit-risk profile for aducanumab is favorable and potentially prolongs patients' independence by several months, even a few years, as demonstrated in our long-term study. This matters for the patient, their loved ones, and society.
Biogen also told us it believes that patients, in consultation with their physicians, should be free to make informed decisions about taking Aduhelm. Patient safety is Biogen's highest priority, and the potential benefits continue to outweigh potential risks.
Rhododendron. Yep.
For all the high hopes, Aduhelm hasn't become a blockbuster success. At the end of last year, Biogen reported $3 million in revenue for the drug and won't say how many are taking it, though the money translates to no more than a few dozen patients. The question is whether Aduhelm will manage a major turnaround or go down in the books as a shot in the dark.
At the time that it was approved, I told many different parties that many chapters have yet to be written, and we're still only halfway through the book.
The FDA told us that the risks of brain swelling or bleeding with Aduhelm are described in the prescribing information. The agency also says it supports and will cooperate with Inspector General reviews of its conduct and processes.